Hey everyone, I've been getting a ton of messages lately about a new telephoto lens that's been lighting up the Canon forums and my own inbox. The buzz around the Canon RF 70200mm f/2.8L is USM has been impossible to ignore, and I finally decided to give it a proper spin because I've been waiting for a chance to see how it actually performs on my full-frame mirrorless body. If you're curious about the specs or want to see the exact model I'm talking about, link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the most obvious thing about this lens is the constant f/2.8 aperture all the way from 70 to 200 millimeters. That means you can stay in low-light situations, whether you're shooting a wedding reception with dim chandeliers or a backyard concert after sunset, without having to constantly tweak exposure settings. The aperture also gives you a nicely creamy background blur, which is perfect for isolating a subject in a busy environment, like pulling a single dancer out of a crowded stage. What really sets this lens apart is the Dual Nano USM motor system. Canon combined two tiny ultrasonic motors to deliver faster and quieter autofocus. I tested it while tracking a sprinter on the track, and the lens kept up without the dreaded hunting you sometimes hear with older glass. The near silence is also a major plus for video work. I could capture a wildlife documentary scene with an elk grazing at a distance and the focus motor never made a noticeable whir, so the audio stayed clean. The zoom range itself, 70 to 200 millimeters, covers a lot of ground for a single piece of glass. If you're into portrait photography, the 85135mm sweet spot gives you tight headshots with beautiful bokeh, while still letting you step back a bit so you don't feel cramped in the studio. For sports or action shooters, the longer end lets you capture a soccer player's footwork from the sidelines, and the constant f/2.8 means the shutter speed stays high enough to freeze motion even on overcast days. I also took a few candid street shots from a cafe across the street. The lens let me compress the scene nicely, so the bustling sidewalk behind my subject looked smoother, almost like a backdrop painting. Another practical benefit is the weather sealing and fluorine coating on the front element. I've shot in light rain, dusty trails, and even a humid jungle environment where droplets would normally cling to a regular lens surface. The fluorine coating repels water and fingerprints, so I could wipe it clean with a quick swipe of a cloth and keep shooting without worrying about smudges ruining the image. The robust L-series construction gives a sense of durability that makes you feel comfortable lugging it around on a backpack for a day-long hike. The minimum focusing distance is 0.7 m, or about 2.3 feet, which is surprisingly close for a 70200mm. This turns the lens into a decent macroish tool when you need to capture details like the texture of a leaf or the intricate pattern on a butterfly's wing without switching to a dedicated macro lens. I found it handy in a macro-style product photography session, where I could get the sharpness and shallow depth of field I wanted while still keeping the working distance comfortable. Now, let's talk about how it feels in the hand. The barrel is solid, yet well-balanced on my EOS R5, so the lens doesn't feel front-heavy even at the 200mm end. That balance makes it easier to hold for longer periods, which is a subtle benefit when you're lining up a series of portrait sessions or waiting for a perfect sports moment. The optical image stabilization, rated at 5 stops, lets you handhold a shot at slower shutter speeds without noticeable blur. I tested it on a dimly lit indoor concert, and at 1/30 SEC I could still get clean frames, which is a huge help when you don't have a tripod. A quick rundown of the pros and cons, just to keep things honest. On the plus side, the lens delivers consistently sharp images across the frame. The autofocus speed and silence are a real plus for both stills and video, and the build quality with weather sealing feels like it will last through many adventures. As for the downsides, the lens is definitely on the heavier side, which might be a consideration if you're trying to travel light, and the price point is higher than some other telephoto options out there. So you'll need to decide if the performance justifies the investment for your specific needs. All in all, the Canon RF 70200mm f/2.8L is USM feels like a true workhorse that adapts to a variety of shooting scenarios, from low-light portraits and fast-moving sports to outdoor wildlife and even some creative close-ups. If you're looking for a versatile telephoto that can handle both stills and video without compromise, this lens is worth a serious look. Thanks for hanging out, and if you want to see the exact model on Amazon, the link is in the description below. Talk soon.